Today we're going to be talking about Standard 7A, which is to describe the structure and powers of the state government. So how does this relate to what we've been talking about? We just finished talking about our national government and the three branches and how checks and balances keeps everybody without getting too much power. Our three branches were legislative, which is made up of Congress, which is our House of Representatives and our Senate, the executive branch, which is our president, and then the judicial branch, which is our federal courts or the Supreme Court, along with national government agencies like the Department of Education or the Department of Transportation. We're going to look more in depth at the state and local governments and how they are similar and different and how they share their powers or they have their own powers. So back in the day when the 13 states won their independence from Great Britain, they acted like small and separate and independent countries. However, under the Constitution, they joined together to create rules for a new country, which is the United States of America. The states did set aside some rights and powers for themselves, but the ultimate goal was to do what was best for the entire country. The federal and state governments, the states didn't want to hand over too much power to the federal government, which is our national government. So they chose a federal system that divides government powers between the federal and state governments. Delegated powers are the powers given to the federal government by the Constitution. These include foreign policy, the ability to print money, maintaining post offices, and defending our country. So federalism, just in a little chart, the national things that the federal government can do, like declare war, admit new states, maintain the post offices, print money. And then the state has all other responsibilities like establishing schools, issuing marriage and driver's licenses, ratifying amendments to the Constitution, and then assuming powers not delegated to the national government. Things that they share, state and national governments can levy taxes, maintain law and order, build highways, borrow money, charter banks, and establish the courts. Reserved powers. These were established in the 10th Amendment of the Constitution, and that basically says that any power not delegated to the federal government belongs to the people and the states. State governments establish rules for health, safety, and the general welfare of the citizens. Rules include marriage, driver's license and driving regulations, traffic regulations, education in schools, and maintaining elections. Concurrent powers, those are the shared powers between the state and federal governments. And these include taxes. So the federal government issues federal income taxes. The state government has localized like sales taxes. Like Virginia has a lower sales tax than Tennessee, but our food taxes are different. The state level also works with income taxes and property taxes. Both share the ability to make laws and enforce those laws, and our state police officers help to enforce laws and keep the states safe. And then the courts. So the Supreme Court is the highest, it's the federal or the national level, but there are also different levels of courts at the state and local levels, and we're going to talk about those later. This is the seal for Virginia. So if you see the state flag, this will be on it. The form of government of the Commonwealth of Virginia is established by the Virginia Constitution. There is a legislative, executive, and judicial branch, and they are separated at the state level of government. The Virginia Constitution distributes power among the three branches of the state government. The legislative branch is the General Assembly, a bicameral legislature, and the House of Delegates and the Virginia Senate, and they meet annually for a fixed number of days. I went to the General Assembly website and just took pictures, like little screenshots of things. You're more than welcome to visit that site if you would like. I looked up things about our House of Delegate members. So we have 100 members, and each member represents 80,000 citizens, and the term of office for a member of the House of Delegates is 2 years. And each member receives a salary of $17,640. The Speaker of the House is the presiding officer of the House and is elected by the House in even-numbered years for a 2-year term. The Speaker's duties are the assigning of bills to a committee and appointing the membership of the 14 House standing committees. Our senators, there are 40 members. Each member is elected for a term of 4 years and receives an annual salary of $18,000. A senator represents approximately 200,000 citizens of the Commonwealth of Virginia. The lieutenant governor is the presiding officer of the Senate and is elected in a statewide election for a 4-year term. In the event of his absence, the president pro tempore carries out the duties of the presiding officer, and the president pro tempore is elected by the Senate for a term of 4 years. So the executive branch of Virginia has powers exercised by the governor, who is elected for a 4-year term of office. The governor appoints members of the cabinet who oversee specific functions of the government, kind of like the president. The president has his or her cabinet members, and that's going to be like your Department of Education, Department of Agriculture, just people to help him or her with daily tasks and laws. Our governor is Ralph Northam. He is the 73rd governor of the Commonwealth of Virginia, and he previously served as an army doctor. He was a pediatric neurologist, which means he helps little kids. And he's a business owner. He served as a state senator and the lieutenant governor. If you want to pause this video and read about him, he is a pretty interesting guy. You're more than welcome to. Continue with the executive branch. The lieutenant governor and the attorney general are executive branch officers who are elected for a 4-year term of office. Our lieutenant governor is Justin Fairfax. He is the second African American in history and the first in nearly 30 years since the tenure of Governor Wilder to be elected to statewide office in Virginia. Our Attorney General is Mark Herring, and he's the 48th Attorney General of Virginia. And his agenda is here. If you want to pause the video and look at things about him or about Justin, please feel free. Or if you want to go back and look in the PowerPoint, that is fine as well. The judicial branch. This is going to be our courts. The judicial power is exercised by a court system that consists of 4 levels of courts. And I'm just going to give you a little blurb of this. We're going to go into more depth about these things, but we have the Supreme Court, Court of Appeals, circuit courts, and district courts. And those include small claims courts and juvenile and domestic relations. So the Supreme Court possesses both original and appellate jurisdiction. Its primary function is to review decisions of lower courts, including the Court of Appeals, from which appeals have been allowed. Virginia does not allow an appeal to the Supreme Court as a matter of right, except in cases involving decisions of the state corporation commission, certain disciplinary actions against an attorney, and the review of the death penalty. Then we have the Court of Appeals, and I'm going to switch over to this one because it's a little bit easier to look at. The Court of Appeals is below the Supreme Court. The Court of Appeals, they deal with domestic relation matters, appeals from decisions of an administrative agency, traffic infractions, and criminal cases, except where the death sentence has been administered. Then we have our circuit courts, and they deal with civil actions. So the only trial court of general jurisdiction in Virginia is the circuit court, and their actions include shared jurisdiction with general district courts of monetary claims of more than $4,500, but no more than $25,000. Exclusive original jurisdiction of monetary claims exceeding $25,000. Validity of a county or municipal ordinance or corporate bylaw, divorce proceedings, wills, trust and estate matters, property disputes, and adoption proceedings. With criminal cases, this is all felonies, which are offenses that may be punished by imprisonment of more than 1 year. Misdemeanor offenses that were appealed from district court or originated from a grand jury indictment, and transfers of certification of felony offenses committed by juveniles. Then we have our district courts. And the district court hears all criminal cases involving misdemeanors under state law and offenses that are violations of ordinances and laws of the county or city. And a misdemeanor is any charge that carries a penalty of up to 1 year in jail or a fine of $2,500 or both. They also deal with juvenile and domestic relations in the district court, and this is for children accused of delinquent acts, traffic violations, or status offenses, children in need of services or supervision, children who have been subjected to abuse, neglect, or abandonment, custody issues with children, children in foster care. It goes all the way through like court-ordered blood testing of children. And that concludes our notes for today. We will talk more about the courts. I know that was really fast, but we will get more in depth with that because it is interesting. And if you were wondering, this little picture right here is of the county courthouse in Abingdon on Main Street. I'm sure you've driven by it. It's like kind of near Abingdon High School. You will be gluing your notes in today. I will tell you where to glue those in. You do need to raise your hand and let me know you're finished so I can do a notebook check so you can have a daily grade.